Between 1980 and 1989, American food companies launched more than 14,000 new grocery products. 8 out of every 10 disappeared within 24 months. Some lost $100 million before the first carton was ever returned. Number 19 on this list cost Coca-Cola 79 days of bad press and 1,000 angry phone calls an hour. Number 8 came back from the dead and lasted just long enough to fail a second time. Number 1 is still discussed in business school case studies 4 decades after the last box left the warehouse. What most people miss is that these were not jokes at the time. They were big bets by serious companies with focus groups, primetime television budgets, and shelf placement at every Kroger and A&P from coast to coast. Hit that subscribe button. Here are the 25 grocery items from the 1980s that failed. Number 25. Donkey Kong cereal. The Ralston Purina factory in Battle Creek, Michigan, was running barrel-shaped corn puffs through a sugar drum in 1982, all for an ape who lived inside an arcade machine. Nintendo had licensed the gorilla to a cereal company, hoping to ride the quarter-eating craze into every American breakfast bowl. The pieces were dyed bright orange and tasted like sweetened cardboard, with a faint scorched note from the puffing gun. Children wanted the box for the back panel game and threw the cereal in the trash. Mothers stopped buying after a single round. Ralston pulled it from supermarket aisles in 1984, less than 2 years after launch, with retailers reporting unsold cases stacked in back rooms from Topeka to Tampa. The licensing deal alone had cost more than $1 million before a single bowl was eaten. The arcade machine kept earning quarters for another decade. The cereal did not earn back its launch budget. Today, an unopened box sells on collector forums for almost $300, more than Ralston ever made on a case during the original run. Number 24. Cracker Jack cereal. Ralston tried the same trick a second time in 1982 with the famous caramel popcorn brand, betting that a 100-year-old name would carry a breakfast box the way it had carried a ballpark bag. The cereal looked the part. Glossy peanut clusters and caramel-coated corn pieces sat in a red, white, and blue carton with the sailor boy and his dog smiling out from the front. There was a prize inside, just like the snack. The problem started at the breakfast table. Milk turned the caramel into a syrup and the cereal into a brown slurry inside 90 seconds. The peanuts went soft and the corn pieces collapsed under the spoon. Children who loved Cracker Jack at the ballgame refused to eat it from a bowl, and parents who paid $2.49 stopped repurchasing after the first try. By late 1985, the cereal was gone from the shelves where it had launched with a 6-figure television campaign. The snack itself outlived its breakfast cousin by 4 decades and is still sold today. Number 23. Pudding Pops. The freezer aisle in 1982 was full of a brown, white, and chocolate vanilla swirl on a stick from General Foods, with Bill Cosby smiling on every box from a television commercial running 30 times a week. Jell-O Pudding Pops were a genuine hit at first. They sold $300 million in their second year and pushed traditional ice cream novelties off the shelves. Then the manufacturing math caught up. The Pops needed special chocolate-coated equipment, the freezer cases needed restocking twice as often, and the margins shrank with every box that left the warehouse. Knockoff store brands undercut them by a third. By 1989, General Foods had quietly discontinued the line in most markets. Children who grew up on them spent the next 20 years asking when they would come back. Kraft tried a brief revival in 2004 that also failed. The Pops went dark again, and a generation that remembers them still describes the taste from memory the way you describe a smell from a childhood kitchen. Number 22. Topples. Frito-Lay watched the cracker aisle in 1986 and decided the world needed a chip with the cheese already baked on top. They engineered a square corn cracker with a melted cheddar disc fused to one side, then shipped them in a foil bag that promised the snack you would otherwise have to make yourself. Test stores in Dallas and Atlanta moved them at a respectable clip during the trial run. National rollout in 1987 hit a wall. The cheese topping cracked and flaked off inside the bag during shipping, leaving a layer of orange dust at the bottom and a naked cracker on top. Customers opened a $4 bag and got 2 snacks instead of 1 combined snack, defeating the entire selling point. Frito-Lay killed the line by the end of 1988 after a reported $13 million in marketing and shelf space. The factory switched back to running Doritos within a month. Topples became one of the most expensive cracker experiments in snack history and is now nearly impossible to find, even in collector circles. Number 21. Burger King Jumbo Revival. The hot ham and cheese sandwich had been a Burger King staple in the early 1970s before getting cut from the menu without ceremony. Then in 1985, a new marketing director ordered it back, convinced nostalgia would do the work that chicken sandwiches were doing for the competition. The Jumbo returned with the same long sesame bun, the same shaved ham, the same melted American cheese, and a small ad budget in regional markets only. The problem was that Burger King had become a flame-broiled burger chain in the years between, and the steamed deli sandwich felt like a museum piece next to the Whopper. Sales never crossed the threshold needed to keep it on the boards. By 1986, the Jumbo was gone again, this time for good, in less than 14 months. Franchise owners said the older customers who remembered it from the 70s ordered it twice and went back to burgers. The younger customers never tried it at all, and the menu boards were stripped within a single Tuesday morning. Number 20. Lipton Sip-Ups. The juice pouch aisle in 1985 belonged to Capri Sun, and Lipton wanted in on the business. Their answer was a pyramid-shaped foil pouch with a built-in straw, filled with sweetened tea and a fruit flavor that came in cherry, lemon, or orange. Mothers who packed lunchboxes liked the price, which was a few cents under the leading brand. Children hated the taste. Cold tea mixed with cherry syrup tasted like cough medicine to a 7-year-old, and the pouches came home from school full and warm at the bottom of the lunch bag. Lipton spent close to $6 million on television spots showing kids running through sprinklers with a sip-up in hand. None of it changed what was inside the pouch. By 1987, the line was discontinued in most markets, and the pyramid pouches that had not sold were sent to discount stores where they sat next to off-brand chips at 15 cents apiece until they were pulped at a recycler in New Jersey. Number 19. New Coke. The Coca-Cola headquarters in Atlanta announced on April 23, 1985, that the formula every American had grown up on was being retired and replaced. The new version had been tested on 200,000 people, beat both Old Coke and Pepsi in blind taste panels, and was ready to win back the Cola Wars. Then the country found out. The phone bank at Coca-Cola took roughly 1,500 angry calls a day for the first week. Letters arrived by the bag from Nebraska, Florida, and Oregon, some addressed simply to the idiots in Atlanta. A man in Seattle filed a class action lawsuit. A retired colonel in San Antonio filled his basement with 1,200 cans of the original. 79 days later, the company surrendered, brought back the original as Coca-Cola Classic, and quietly demoted the new version to a side project. New Coke limped on as Coke 2 until 2002, generations of customers having voted against it with their wallets. It is still taught at Harvard Business School as a textbook story of a company that solved the wrong problem. Number 18. Pringles Light. Procter & Gamble looked at the light snack boom of 1986 and thought the famous saddle-shaped chip would be the perfect canvas for a reduced grease reformulation. The Cincinnati lab spent close to 2 years engineering a version with 1/3 less cooking grease than the original, using a new vegetable shortening blend balanced for the right snap. The cans hit shelves with a green stripe across the familiar red tube to signal the change to regular buyers. The chips inside tasted faintly of cardboard. The texture had a soft, almost rubbery snap instead of the loud crack the brand was known for, the kind of crack a kid in 1986 would recognize from across a kitchen. Customers who picked up a can for the lighter promise put it back after one chip, and the regular Pringles next to it kept selling at the same pace as before. Procter & Gamble pulled the line within 2 years and folded the lessons into a quieter reformulation of the regular product. The green-striped cans went into clearance bins at supermarket end caps, marked down to 50 cents and then to nothing at all by Christmas of 1988. Internal estimates put the total loss at close to $40 million, including the Cincinnati line conversion that had to be reversed. The lesson Procter & Gamble took from it shaped how the company tested every new chip variant for the next 20 years. Number 17. Yoo-hoo Light. The chocolate drink that had been a corner store fixture since the 1920s tried a lighter version in 1987, betting that mothers who would not buy the regular sugar-loaded bottle for their kids would say yes to a less sweet alternative. The new Yoo-hoo Light came in a narrower brown bottle with a teal label and a sweetener swap that cut the sugar almost in half. The taste was the problem nobody could fix. The lighter version had a chemical aftertaste that lingered on the tongue long after the last sip from the bottle. Children who loved regular Yoo-hoo took one mouthful and refused the rest. Adults bought a six-pack out of curiosity and never bought a second from the same shelf. The product was off store shelves in less than 18 months, and the company went back to the original formula and never tried a lighter version again. The original is still made today in the same brown bottle that the grandmother of the kid who refused the lighter one used to bring home. Number 16. Frusen Glädjé. The Pillsbury Company watched Häagen-Dazs build a premium ice cream empire in the late 1970s and decided the country could support a second European-sounding brand. They invented Frusen Glädjé in 1980, with a Swedish-style name and a gold-rimmed pint that cost almost $3 at a time when regular ice cream cost 90 cents. The product itself was genuinely good. Heavy cream, real vanilla, dense and slow to melt on a hot summer afternoon in the suburbs. The trouble started in court. Häagen-Dazs sued over the deliberately fake foreign branding and won a settlement that forced disclosure on the label about the Pennsylvania manufacturing origin. Then Pillsbury cut marketing support, betting on grocery placement instead of advertising. Sales stalled inside 2 quarters. The brand bounced through 3 owners between 1985 and 1993, ending up at Kraft, which finally pulled it from production after years of declining returns. The gold-rimmed pints disappeared from the freezer case, and the empty space was filled by a generic store brand within a single week. Number 15. Almost Home Cookies. Nabisco rolled out the Almost Home line in 1983 with a bakery-style commercial that promised cookies as good as the ones your grandmother used to make. The boxes were oversized, the cookies inside were soft and chunky, and the launch budget topped $50 million across television, print, and coupon inserts mailed to every zip code east of the Mississippi. The line moved well in the first year. By the second year, Procter & Gamble released Duncan Hines soft cookies in the same aisle, and the price war started in earnest. Then the lawsuit started. Procter & Gamble sued Nabisco, Keebler, and Frito-Lay for patent infringement on the soft cookie technology that all 4 companies had launched within a 6-month window. The legal battle dragged on until 1989, settled for $125 million, and by then, most of the soft cookie lines were gone from the shelf. Almost Home was discontinued by the early 1990s. The cookies that promised the taste of a grandmother's kitchen ended up in a federal courtroom instead of a lunchbox. Number 14. Reggie Bar Revival. The chocolate, peanut, and caramel bar named for Reggie Jackson had been a 1978 phenomenon given out free at Yankee Stadium on opening day in a promotion fans threw onto the field by the hundreds, halting play in the first inning. The original was discontinued in 1981 after Standard Brands decided it was too tied to a single player whose career was peaking. Then, in 1985, the company brought it back, betting on baseball nostalgia and an ad campaign tied to Jackson's pursuit of his 500th home run with the California Angels. The revival used the same orange wrapper, the same recipe, and the same round shape stamped with the player's name across the front in raised brown chocolate letters. The marketing budget for the relaunch was reportedly close to $8 million across spot television and stadium signage in 6 markets. The problem was timing. Jackson was 39 years old, his playing days nearly over, and a new generation of children had no memory of the original at all. The bar sat next to Snickers and Reese's at the checkout aisle, both cheaper and better known by every kid at the candy counter. By the All-Star break of 1986, the revived Reggie Bar was gone again from most stores around the country, this time without a comeback at any major retailer chain or grocery banner. The orange wrappers became collector items within a decade and now sell for $15 a piece on auction sites, for a wrapper that originally cost the buyer 35 cents at the corner store in the summer of 1985. The lesson the candy industry took from it was simple and lasting. Nostalgia alone cannot sell a chocolate bar to a child who has never heard the name on the label of the wrapper before, and a player on the back end of his career cannot anchor a relaunch the way he anchored the original drop. Number 13. G.I. Joe Action Stars. Ralston had figured out cartoon character cereal in the early 1980s, and in 1985 they aimed the formula at the most popular afternoon television show in America for boys aged 6 to 11. G.I. Joe Action Stars came in a green box covered in commando illustrations, with a corn cereal shaped into tiny stars and rifles dyed in 3 patriotic colors meant to match the show. The cereal pieces were so hard that they cracked under a normal spoon and floated on the milk like little plastic fragments from a snapped toy. Children who collected G.I. Joe figures begged for the box because of the back panel mail-in offer for a stickers pack, but the cereal itself was inedible by the second bowl on a Saturday morning. Stockists in Cleveland and Houston reported half-eaten boxes left behind on shelves where someone had opened them in the aisle to inspect the pieces. The line was discontinued in 1986, less than a year after launch, with leftover cases liquidated through dollar stores in the Sun Belt. The toy line outlasted the cereal by another decade and a half. Number 12. Kellogg's OJs. The Battle Creek factory in 1985 ran a corn cereal coated with what the box called real orange juice flavor, sold in a bright orange carton with a cartoon mascot named Joey waving from the front. Kellogg's marketing claimed the cereal would deliver the vitamin C of a small glass of juice in every bowl with milk. Mothers worried about morning nutrition picked the box up at the supermarket. Their children took one bite of orange-flavored cornflake, soaked in cold milk, and refused the rest of the bowl outright. The combination tasted, depending on who you asked, like a children's chewable vitamin, or like a glass of orange juice that had been left out overnight on a sunny windowsill. Kellogg's gave it a year of shelf space and a quiet end without a final ad campaign. By the summer of 1986, the boxes were gone from supermarkets, and the cartoon Joey was retired before he ever appeared in a Saturday morning ad campaign of his own. The cereal is now considered one of Kellogg's most decisive single-year failures, costing the company a reported $18 million. Number 11. Ice Cream Cones Cereal. General Mills launched this cereal in 1987 with a back-of-the-box claim that promised the taste of a sundae shop in a breakfast bowl. The cereal pieces were tiny waffle cone shapes alongside small Cocoa Puff balls meant to suggest scoops of ice cream sitting on top of the cones. There were 2 varieties at launch, chocolate chip and vanilla, and the boxes featured a pastel scoop shop scene that looked like it belonged on a small-town bakery menu from a generation earlier. Children loved the concept and begged for it at the store on every shopping trip in the spring. Then the cereal hit the milk and the cone pieces went soggy in under a minute, turning into a sweet, mushy paste that nobody finished by the second bite. The box was discontinued by 1988, less than 15 months after launch, with retailers reporting heavy returns from Midwest grocery chains. General Mills brought it back briefly in 2003 as a nostalgia play, and it failed again on the same soggy cone problem. Some manufacturing problems are simply unsolvable from the inside of a cereal box. Number 10. Smurf Berry Crunch. Post Cereals signed a license with the Belgian cartoon characters in 1983 and rolled out a red and blue puffed cereal with a sweetness that registered closer to candy than to breakfast on a Saturday morning. The Saturday morning Smurf show was the most watched cartoon in America during its first 2 seasons. The cereal followed it onto store shelves and into millions of households across the country, with a launch ad budget of around $12 million in the first year. Then the parents tasted it. Smurf Berry Crunch turned milk a faint blue and turned children's mouths a much deeper one for hours after the bowl was finished. Dentists noticed an increase in stained tongue complaints in the first year of national distribution. The cereal kept selling on cartoon goodwill until the show's ratings declined in the late 1980s, then faded with the franchise itself. Post quietly discontinued the line in 1989 after 6 years on the shelves. Today, the boxes sell as collectibles for $50 to $100 on auction sites, and the children who ate it still describe the taste as the color blue, decades later. Number 9. Mr. T cereal. Quaker Oats partnered with the actor in 1984 at the height of the A-Team craze, releasing a sweetened corn and oat cereal shaped into the letter T and packaged in a black box with a giant photograph of Mr. T pointing through the front toward the breakfast table. The advertising campaign was relentless, running every commercial break of the Saturday morning lineup for 3 years and showing Mr. T himself eating a bowl with the catchphrase, "I pity the fool who don't eat my cereal." Sales were strong through 1985 and into 1986, then collapsed when the A-Team was canceled in the spring and a new generation moved on to the next television hero. Quaker discontinued the cereal in 1993 after a long, slow decline of unsold cases stacked in regional warehouses. The black boxes are now a permanent fixture on the lists of greatest cereal flops, even though they outsold most of the others at their peak. The box made a brief cameo in the 2010 movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure, decades after the cereal went dark. Number 8. Hubba Bubba soda. Wrigley's, the gum company that had owned the corner of every American checkout aisle for 50 years, looked at the soda market in 1988 and decided their bubblegum brand could cross over into the beverage cooler at the front of the store. They licensed the name to a Texas beverage maker called Novelty Beverages and released Hubba Bubba soda in 3 flavors: original bubblegum, raspberry, and grape, in a white can with the familiar pink and blue logo from the gum wrapper. The taste was exactly what the can promised. Liquid bubblegum, in carbonated form, served cold over ice on a summer afternoon. Children bought one out of curiosity at the corner store and refused the second can from the same 6-pack at home that night. Adults could not get past the smell, which carried across a kitchen the moment the tab was pulled. The flavor that worked perfectly inside a stick of gum, where the saliva broke it down a sip at a time, did not survive the jump to a 12-ounce glass over ice. Parents poured most of the 6-pack down the drain after the first round of complaints. The line was discontinued within 18 months. Wrigley's stuck to gum for another 2 decades and never tried a beverage spin-off again. Hubba Bubba soda came back briefly in 1992 from a Wisconsin bottler and lasted just long enough to fail a second time before being pulled once more. Number 7. Apple Slice. PepsiCo had launched the Slice line in 1984 with lemon, lime, and orange variants, riding the real fruit juice claim into a brief moment of soda aisle dominance against 7-Up and Sprite. In 1986, they extended the brand with Apple Slice, a green can promising 10% real apple juice and the same crisp profile as the original launch flavors. The marketing campaign included television spots with apple orchards and golden retrievers running through fall leaves on a Vermont hillside. The taste did not match the imagery. Apple Slice came out as a sweet, vaguely cidery liquid that tasted artificial next to the real apple juice in the same supermarket aisle in the next case over. Sales never reached the threshold PepsiCo needed to keep distribution in the Northeast or the South. The variant was discontinued by 1988, and the broader Slice brand began its slow decline through the 1990s before being quietly retired around 2000. The green apple Slice cans are now hard to find even on collector auction sites, mostly because almost nobody saved them at the time. Number 6. Slice. The original Slice line itself belongs on this list, even though it lasted longer than most of the products around it on the shelf. PepsiCo launched the brand in 1984 with the slogan, "We got the juice," and a campaign that put it next to 7-Up and Sprite on every shelf in America. First-year sales were strong enough to threaten the lemon-lime category and to alarm the marketing departments at both competitors within a single quarter. Then the trouble started. The 10% juice claim drew lawsuits from competitors and questions from consumer groups about how a product with that little juice could lead with the word juice in its commercials at all. Reformulations followed, distribution shrank, and by the early 1990s, Slice had been pushed off most regional shelves outside California and Texas. PepsiCo retired the Slice name nationally by 2000 after a final attempt with a Diet Slice variant. A drink that had been one of the biggest soft launch wins of the decade ended as a cautionary tale about leading a marketing campaign with a number that customers eventually felt was a stretch. Number 5. Like cola. The 7-Up company tried to break into the cola category in 1982 with a caffeine-free brown soda packaged in a red and white can almost identical to a regular Coke at 20 paces. The product was meant to ride the no-caffeine wave that was sweeping through American grocery aisles after a wave of medical news stories about jitters and sleep problems in children. Like Cola tasted closer to flat root beer than to either Coke or Pepsi, and the no-caffeine angle was eaten alive within a year when both Coke and Pepsi launched their own caffeine-free versions of their flagship colas in white and silver cans. 7-Up could not match the marketing budget of either competitor, with both spending more on a single Super Bowl spot than 7-Up had for the entire year. Like Cola was discontinued in 1985 after 3 years on the market and a reported loss of more than $30 million in marketing and shelf space buybacks. The red cans went to discount retailers in the South and Midwest, where they sat next to off-brand colas at 15 cents apiece until they were finally cleared out and crushed. Number 4. MCDLT. McDonald's launched the MCDLT in 1985 with a styrofoam package split in two, one side holding the hot beef patty and bun bottom, the other holding the cold lettuce, tomato, and bun top in a separate compartment. The slogan was, "Keep the hot side hot and the cool side cool," set to a Jason Alexander commercial that ran on prime time for 2 years across NBC, ABC, and CBS. The food itself worked. The package became a problem the company could not ignore. Environmental groups in 1989 launched a national campaign against fast food styrofoam, and McDonald's became the public face of foam clamshell waste in nightly news segments and student protests on campuses across the country. The MCDLT was quietly retired in 1990, along with the rest of the company's foam packaging line. The keep them separate concept made a brief return as the MCDLT-style McLean in paper wrap, which was its own failure for a different reason involving carrageenan and water content. The 1985 Styrofoam Original is now considered the most environmentally costly hamburger in fast food history, generating an estimated 70 million foam containers a year at peak. Number 3. Pepsi AM. PepsiCo studied a small American habit in 1989 and decided breakfast cola was a real category waiting to be claimed. Their answer was Pepsi AM, marketed as a morning replacement for coffee with 28% more caffeine than regular Pepsi and a launch budget that bought television spots during the morning news block on every major network. The product was real cola in a real can with a yellow sunrise across the front and a sleek logo that looked more like a rental car ad than a soda label. Customers found out very quickly that they did not want sweet, fizzy soda before 9 in the morning, no matter how much caffeine it contained or how many times the commercial ran during today. Test markets in Atlanta, Charlotte, and Nashville returned weak numbers. National rollout was canceled within months. Pepsi AM disappeared from store shelves in 1990, less than a year after launch, and PepsiCo never publicly disclosed the full cost. Industry analysts put it in the tens of millions. The yellow cans now sell on collector forums for $25 apiece, more than the original campaign ever recovered per unit at retail. Number 2. Premier Smokeless Cigarettes. RJR Nabisco spent close to $1 billion between 1981 and 1988 developing what they believed would be the safest cigarette ever sold, a tobacco-flavored carbon stick designed to deliver nicotine without the smoke. They named it Premier and rolled it out to test markets in Phoenix and St. Louis with a marketing budget of $325 million and an executive expectation that this product would change the entire tobacco category overnight. Customers who tried it described the taste and language the company could not put on a billboard or in a magazine ad. One reviewer in the Phoenix Republic compared it to lighting a piece of plastic on fire and inhaling the fumes. The carbon tip was difficult to keep lit and required a butane lighter to start, which most regular smokers did not carry around with them. Sales in the test markets collapsed inside 3 months. RJR Nabisco pulled the product in early 1989, less than a year after launch, in what is still cited as one of the largest single-product losses in American consumer goods history. The factory that built the carbon sticks was sold for parts in Ohio. Number 1. C3PO cereal. Kellogg's launched the most heavily promoted cereal flop of the decade in 1984, betting on the tail end of the Star Wars craze and a custom-shaped puffed oat cereal that looked, the box claimed, like the famous golden droid from Tatooine. The pieces were figure-8 shaped, sweetened with honey, and shipped in a black box with a glossy C3PO photograph that took up the entire front panel of the carton. The marketing budget topped $20 million in the first 6 months, with Saturday morning television spots, a comic book insert from Marvel, and a coupon mailed to 19 million American households across the country. Sales out of the gate were strong, with first-month numbers that beat every Kellogg's launch since the original Sugar Frosted Flakes. Then, the figure-8 shape proved nearly impossible to manufacture consistently. Breakage rates inside the box ran above 30%, and the cereal often arrived at the store as crumbs on the bottom of the carton. By 1986, the line was discontinued, less than 2 years after launch. The unbroken boxes are now collector pieces, and the manufacturing notes from the Battle Creek plant are still studied as a product engineering case at Cornell. 25 products, each shipped to thousands of supermarkets across America. Each pulled, retired, or quietly buried inside a quarterly report. The black cereal boxes, the green soda cans, the styrofoam clamshells, the smokeless sticks. None were stupid bets at the time. They were big budgets, smart teams, and serious shelf placement. The country looked at them, took one bite or one sip, and walked back to what worked. Tell us in the comments which one you remember pulling off the shelf and which one you wish had stayed.